Hello, you're watching UZREPORT.NEWS. I'm Bahram Gaffarov. Now let's have a look at our top headlines at this hour. Uzbek delegation has visited the United States to study foreign experience of creation and development of restoration institutions. Tashkent developers and other officials were criticized for cutting down dozens of trees. UEFA Champions League Cup has been brought to Tashkent. A group of individuals who have fallen victims of the private employment agency, Career and Migration, met with the law enforcement officials to ask about the progress of the investigation. According to the Uzbek Ministry of Internal Affairs, approximately $2.6 million have been misappropriated by the agency.
A criminal case on a large-scale fraud was initiated in October last year against the employment agency officials Kahraman Atakulov, Musurmon Alikulov and Odil Kabulov. On October 10, 2019, a criminal charge was filed against the Korea and Migration Private Employment Agency. A preliminary investigation revealed that the agency misappropriated a total of $2.6 million received from 2,300 Uzbek citizens in exchange for well-paying jobs in Korea. The criminal investigation continues.
This year, the world will mark 75 years since the end of the World War II. 6 long years of war, full of blood, tears and suffering. The Russian Cultural Center in Tashkent has prepared a number of events on the occasion of Victory Day celebration. Our correspondent has that story.
The Hot Snow novel by Yuri Bondarev was written in 1970. It describes one of the most significant battles that decided the outcome of the Battle of Stalingrad. The invited guests and historians shared little-known facts of the battle and the role of the Allies in the defeat of the fascist troops. The representatives of a younger generation have had an opportunity to hear directly from the veterans and better understand the realities of war. Uzbekistan lost around 500,000 people in World War II. Of these, 263,000 people died, about 133,000 went missing, and more than 60,000 returned with injuries and disabilities. In total, 1.5 million people, or almost half of the adult population of Uzbekistan, went to the war.
As reported earlier, delegation of the Research Center for the Restoration of Cultural Heritage and Art Objects and the Fund for Culture and Art Development visited the United States to study foreign experience of creation and development of restoration institutions. The delegation also held negotiations with the management of the Smithsonian Institution, the heads of conservation departments and the theme museums.
The Smithsonian Institution is the world's largest museum, education and research complex with 19 museums, 21 libraries, 9 research centers and the National Zoo. The total number of objects at the Smithsonian is estimated at nearly 155 million, of which nearly 2 million are works of art. The parties discussed cooperation prospects, including organization of art exhibitions and study tours and training of Uzbek experts. The delegation of the Ministry of Culture also visited the Smithsonian Institution's Museum Conservation Institute in Maryland, which is the center for specialized technical collection research and conservation for all Smithsonian museums and collections. The institute employs 64 conservationist professionals, most of whom have rich practical experience and advanced academic degrees. The institute director Robert Kostler emphasized the importance of establishing a centralized system for the art conservation. He expressed readiness to cooperate with Uzbek side in the conservation and restoration of the historical and cultural heritage of Uzbekistan. In particular, the sides agreed to exchange experts' visits and share knowledge and expertise.
As the world seeks to slow the pace of climate change, preserve wildlife and support billions of people, trees inevitably hold a major part of the answer. Yet the mass destruction of trees, deforestation, continues, sacrificing the long-term benefits of standing trees for short-term gain. What is the situation in Uzbekistan? Once regarded as a green city, Tashkent's appearance today is quite different than it was a decade ago. Last year, President Mirziyoyev signed the order imposing moratorium on valuable tree and bush cutting from November 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2020. But is this restriction being obeyed by everyone? Here's our story.
Uzbekistan is a young country barely emerging from its pimply juvenility. It employs outstanding officials who create laws for ordinary people, but forget to obey these laws themselves. In the past few years, officials and others who share power have become close friends with developers who build houses for the rest of the population. The developer thinks globally, sometimes so globally that it may seem that he is from another world. Do people need houses? Of course they do. Do people need furniture? Definitely yes. But at the expense of what? This is the problem.
Городской хаким Усманов выделил этот участок.
Ex-mayor of Tashkent, Usmanov, had allocated this plot to a local company. The prosecutor's office had filed a protest against this decision. On the basis of the protest, the incumbent mayor Artik Khodjaev rejected the decision of Usmanov. The court assured us that no one will go against the decision of the incumbent. However, after half a year, the court revised and returned Usmanov's decision into force. Our case was left unsatisfied. What is interesting, representatives of the city administration do not protect the interests of the mayor, but the interests of developers. The State Committee of Ecology has already referred the matter to the prosecutor's office, and in theory, all those responsible for cutting down an entire grove should be criminally punished. It is very sad that even the moratorium imposed by the president himself didn't have a force on that tragic day. Only tough punishment could stop these people who are destroying the city. Penalty against a single tree cut ranged between $50 and $100, while the tree itself costs tenfold of this amount.
About guiltiness, we are talking. First of all, I consider that the Tashkent state administration didn't have authority actually to give permission to build in this place, because it's a green zone. It's against all the ethical, moral norms. That's what I think. Before, Tashkent was very green city, and people which were coming from other countries, they were always wondering what a green city you have over here. Right now, I cannot actually tell that it is so.
Forests still cover about 30% of the world's land area, but they're disappearing at an alarming rate. Between 1990 and 2016, the world lost 1.3 million square kilometers of forest, an area larger than South Africa. According to National Geographic, in terms of climate change, cutting trees both adds carbon dioxide to the air and removes the ability to absorb existing carbon dioxide.
Just to give food for thought, in the Philippines, a tree-cutting violation may land the culprit up to a maximum jail term of 25 years. Our next report is about crime prevention in Uzbekistan. More than 150 legislative acts have been adopted in the country over the past 3 years aimed at the prevention of crime. The overall crime rate last year dropped by 6%. These and other issues were on the agenda of expanded meeting of the Coordinating Council for the Fight Against Crime. The Attorney General harshly criticized the inefficiency of crime prevention. The number of murder offences has increased significantly over the past period. Majority of the homicides are caused by domestic issues. 182 of the 361 homicide victims were either relatives or neighbours. The probation service, responsible for executing non-custodial sentences, was also criticized. Uzbek football fans are rejoicing as for the first time in history of Central Asia, the Union of European Football Associations and Pepsi Uzbekistan have brought the UEFA Champions League Cup to Tashkent. One of the main football awards in the world was on display in the capital's Axelon karting club.
The sounds of the UEFA national anthem performed by opera artists and a live orchestra have brought unique emotions to the atmosphere of the opening ceremony. I think this is a very important event. Our children should see it, envy it and dream about it. This way they will be healthy. Today this prestigious cup has been brought to Tashkent. This is a kind of motivation for engaging in sports. Every major victory, of course, begins with a dream. I think that the cup will serve as an occasion for everyone to strive for new heights. And we, the Ministry of Physical Education and Sports, as well as the NOC, will try to support them in this endeavor. If we go back in time, we could see such trophies only on TV. For any football fan, a meeting with a trophy is a long-awaited event. What makes it unique is that this prize is delivered mainly to European countries. Therefore, not only adults but also children have gathered here. The information agency UZREPORT since 2015 has been the first and only holder of official rights to broadcast the UEFA Champions League in Uzbekistan. The matches are broadcast on UZREPORT and football TV channels.
The internet speed in Uzbekistan hit all-time high in January, even though the country still remains in the middle of the list. According to speedtest.net report, over the past months, Uzbekistan went up 4 positions in the ranking, leaving behind Georgia, Azerbaijan and Tajikistan. With 270 countries included in the list, Uzbekistan now placed 104th, 15 positions up year on year. The internet speed in the country now comprises 25 megabits per second.
A police protest in Haiti turned violent this weekend during a street rally over low pay. The sounds of gun battles and the smell of tear gas replaced celebrations for Carnival in the capital of Port-au-Prince. It wasn't immediately clear who fired the shots or gas. However, it's just the latest flare-up of a nation in crisis. Haiti has been racked by a prolonged economic emergency. Anger boiled over on Sunday as police questioned why there was enough money left for Carnival, but seemingly not enough for officers' livelihoods.
We don't want Carnival. Second, we support the police protesters who are demanding a union. The lack of security in this country is the fault of Jovenel Moïse. He uses the army to destroy the police. Various police officers have been wounded by bullets. There is one who died. We say to the people that we need to keep going until the end.
Sunday's protest is just one of several this year. President Jovenel Moïse has been ruling by decree since January after the country failed to hold elections. The worsening political situation has cut Haiti off from much-needed international funding. The country is the poorest in the Americas, and losing funding has hamstrung its ability to respond to spiraling crises, including massive food shortages. 1 in every 3 Haitians, or around 3.7 million people, are in need of food assistance.
This year's Venice Carnival saw revelers wearing extra masks, one to celebrate and another to protect against the coronavirus. Authorities also ended the festival 2 days early in an attempt to stop the virus's spread. Italy has struggled to contain a sharp rise in infections across the north of the country that jumped to above 150. This marks the biggest outbreak in Europe and has sparked panic shopping at supermarkets as authorities sealed off the worst affected towns and banned public gatherings. But many festival goers were less worried about the outbreak and more angry with the cancellation.
It is useless to stop a carnival because there are hospitals and bars and supermarkets and restaurants and trains and planes and ferries which are all open spaces. And so how do you solve this problem? Stopping a carnival? It's all ridiculous.
On the other side of the globe, South Korea's government has put the country on high alert. The weekend saw an exponential spike in cases there to over 750, with several people dead. This is the largest number of infections outside of China. The World Health Organization said on Saturday it was worried by the detection of infections without a clear link to China where the outbreak began. The Director General said there is still a window of opportunity to contain the virus.
But where our window of opportunity is narrowing, I would put it that way, narrowing. And that's why we called the international community to act. And that's why I explained yesterday, although we're asking for the international community to act quickly, including the financing, that's not what we see.
The more global spread of the virus has raised fears of a potential pandemic. The WHO has sent more than 30,000 protective equipment kits to the most vulnerable countries in Africa to prepare for the virus. According to available data, in China alone, the virus has killed more than 2,000 people, and cases of infection are close to 77,000.
Let us go forward. Let us beat Trump.
Democratic hopefuls on the campaign trail Sunday attempted to blunt Bernie Sanders' momentum after a Nevada victory solidified the Vermont senator's front-runner status in the race for the White House. Former Vice President Joe Biden, who was projected to finish second in Nevada, predicted he would do well in South Carolina's primary next Saturday.
I'm going to do well there. And I'll do well there, and I'll do well beyond there as well.
Biden has reason to be confident he remains the top choice in South Carolina. A new CBS YouGov poll showed 28% of voters there favored the former VP. But his lead has narrowed as the state's primary inches closer, with Bernie Sanders right behind him at 23% in that same poll. Meanwhile, former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg was in Virginia, one of the 14 Super Tuesday states where Democratic voters will cast primary ballots on March 3rd. He used his speech there to make a pointed case against the senator from Vermont, emphasizing the need for a movement that welcomes all points of view.
I respect my friend Senator Sanders. I believe the ideals he talks about are ideals we all share. But I also believe that the way we will build the movement to defeat Donald Trump is to call people into our tent, not to call them names online.
Pete appeared to be referring to alleged abusive behavior exhibited online by Sanders supporters. Senators Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar also made their way to states that vote on Super Tuesday. That will be the first test for former New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg, who has not been competing in the 4 early voting states and who last week was attacked from all sides at his first debate in the race.
These were the latest news for today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.